Action News, Delaware Valley's leading news program, with Don Tollefson, Dave Roberts, and Jim Gardner.
It is Thursday night, September 26th, and the big story on Action News tonight is the approach of a massive hurricane. Gloria is getting closer. At the Jersey Shore, preparations for Gloria are in high gear. Workers have been boarding up Convention Hall. The casinos have been closing up early, urging their customers to leave. Evacuees in Atlantic City are setting up shop for the night at the Uptown Center, normally a community center, but tonight a refuge from Gloria. The boardwalk, usually a busy walkway for pedestrians, is absolutely empty tonight, and the relative calm of the surf belies the potential fury that may well overtake the entire Jersey coastline. Governor Keane held a news conference earlier tonight, and despite the strong suggestion by the National Weather Service that all coastal residents should leave their homes, the governor says he will wait until later overnight to evaluate the need for evacuations. Still, many communities are in the midst of an evacuation, like Stone Harbor in Cape May County. Many local municipalities aren't waiting for an order from the governor. We will be spending a good deal of our time during this broadcast focusing on the Jersey Shore. Obviously, it is one of the most vulnerable areas in the tri-state region. And so let's go live to the boardwalk right in front of Convention Hall and New Jersey correspondent Kathy Gandolfo. Kathy, you said earlier today that the people of Atlantic City had yet to throw their personal preparations into high gear. Has that situation now changed?
Yes, Jim, I think it absolutely has. It is very fair to say that the people here in Atlantic City are now taking this storm very seriously. Tonight, the streets were relatively deserted. Earlier today, people were stocking up on groceries and bottled water, batteries and gasoline, but tonight, just about every store in this city is closed down. We found just one liquor store open, but it wasn't doing any business. People were either staying at home tonight, going to shelters, or just leaving town.
But so the arrangements weren't made and we couldn't get the crowd together.
So you're glad you're going now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Jim, now I want to point out that all of the schools in Cape May County will be closed tomorrow, as well as all of the schools in Atlantic County. I'm told that Camden schools will also be closed tomorrow. Decisions on school closings in Ocean County, Monmouth County, and the other coastal communities have not yet been made. However, those decisions are expected to be made early in the morning. Now, of course, we will be standing by live throughout the night here to bring all the updated reports that we can gather here from the Jersey Shore. Reporting live from Atlantic City, I'm Kathy Gandolfo. Jim?
And Kathy, only time will tell the extent of evacuations in and around Atlantic City, but they have already begun at one very important facility, the city's major hospital. That story from New Jersey correspondent Phyllis Burke.
The Atlantic City Medical Center didn't wait for an executive order to begin evacuating patients tonight. Emergency medical crews were busy transferring neonatal, ICU, and cardiac patients to the mainland division in Pomona. 269 patients were in the Atlantic City Medical Center tonight. Administrators began evacuating 56 patients in critical care units early in the evening and were prepared to evacuate all patients if necessary.
We figure that by the middle of the evening, there might be tidal flooding that would isolate the island. We wanted to have enough critical care capacity to handle the casinos as well as the rest of our island communities.
For some, the hurricane just brings more stress as they try to get to higher land. This woman accompanied her daughter, who was run over by a jitney last week.
Wherever she goes, I'm going. I'm not leaving her now.
You glad to get out of here?
I'm like in a stupor right now. I really don't know. I'm glad to get out of here. I think things will be safer over there.
Hospital officials weren't the only ones worried about evacuations. A county emergency coordinator rushed to set up ambulances to evacuate nursing home patients.
And I had them evacuating the Beechview nursing home, and then they're reporting here to evacuate here, and then they're on a standby for city evacuation.
The nursing home residents were taken to this evacuation shelter in the Uptown complex, one of about 4 shelters set aside by the city. Over 100 people were expected here tonight.
I figured that if they had to do it, they know what they was doing. So I just sit back and stay quiet until they got it all done.
Even if the hospital has to evacuate all patients, administrators say staff will be at the hospital 24 hours, available to handle any emergency. Phyllis Burke, Channel 6 Action News, Atlantic City, New Jersey.
This is Vernon Odom in Cape May County, where hours ago officials called for the voluntary evacuation of all the barrier islands, including Wildwood, Cape May City, Ocean City, and Stone Harbor. This is Stone Harbor's beachfront tonight, where Helene Suzanin of Newtown Square and her 2 children waited hours in their rental house for husband Roger to get here from a meeting in Philadelphia to get his family out. He was tied up on the Garden State Parkway in heavy traffic and rain, but finally arrived so they could quickly head home.
I was very worried. I was afraid that something had happened to him, and I don't have a car here. So I really didn't. I was even thinking of walking out to the police station in all this rain to try and find somebody that would, maybe be able to take us someplace, because it's just scary.
Just a block away from the beachfront, Margaret Johnston says she and her friend Addie Young will make their stand right here, unless they're bodily removed.
I've lived here for 36 years. I have weathered all these storms. This is my home, and I'm going to stay here. I cannot see going to any other place. I would rather stay and see what happens to my home.
But you're only a block, or less than a block, from the beach.
It's all right. I will take my chances, Vernon.
This Westchester family pulled out of their Wildwood Beach house tonight, heading to Chester County until Gloria blows over.
I decided it's time to quit. I'd rather brave the elements up inland than out in the shore.
What about your neighbors? What were they saying?
Well, the whole block is evacuating.
So as the waves on New Jersey's shoreline get rougher and rougher tonight, people by the thousands are evacuating the beachfront communities in New Jersey, hoping and praying that somehow Hurricane Gloria will spare the lives and property left behind. Vernon Odom, Channel 6 Action News in Stone Harbor, New Jersey.
Back at Atlantic City, of course, the big attraction, save for the beach, is normally the casinos. But the dice have stopped rolling tonight, way before normal closing time. Here is Action News reporter Harry Martin.
Even though Governor Thomas Kean suggested the casinos close at midnight, many of them decided to suggest to their guests that they return to their homes much earlier than that. Here at the Atlantis Casino, the casinos closed at 11, and guests scurried to check out.
I want to leave tonight. I want to go home tonight. I'm getting scared. I'm in the room. They keep saying, watch it and be careful and leave and leave and leave. And I'm here alone. I want to go home.
For this man, Atlantic City was going to be the site of the reunion of the 87th Division, which fought in World War II.
That's right. We are going to stay.
Are you frightened at all about this hurricane?
Not when you had been in the Battle of the Bulge.
And then there was Robert Rosenstein, who just drove in from Baltimore, Maryland, with his wife, Barbara.
My wife has she's concerned, yes. I'm not, but she is. I feel we're in a safe building.
We're discussing it right now. We're not sure what we're going to do. We really don't know right now. I mean, they are advising people not to check out.
But for most people staying at the casinos in Atlantic City, there was absolutely no debate. The majority of the guests decided to head for home, as the casinos and the hotels prepared to operate with skeleton crews. Harry Martin, Channel 6 Action News, Atlantic City, New Jersey.
All right, we have heard what is going on around New Jersey and in Delaware as the storm is approaching, but now let us get a look firsthand from Dave Robertson, AccuWeather, as to the course of the storm, where it is, and where it is going. Presumably it is coming in our area. Dave Roberts, what's the story from there?
That's what AccuWeather projects. We're live on City Line Avenue in that vicinity now as a hard, steady rain continues to come down. The rain is just going to increase. AccuWeather is now saying we can expect anywhere from 5 to 8 inches, so the reports that keep coming in seem to be getting worse and worse. These are the projections from AccuWeather. Let us now take a look at where the storm is at present. We'll talk about its strength and its projected path. At this hour, it has top winds of 130 miles per hour just south of Cape Hatteras, North Carolina. By 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, it should hit in the vicinity of Norfolk, Virginia. Here in the Delaware Valley, come noon tomorrow, that's the critical time for us. By noontime, we'll probably be feeling the full brunt of the storm as it moves directly on into the Delaware Valley. We're talking about coastal flooding along the Jersey Shore, Delaware Shore, and those areas, coastal areas with top winds capable of reaching 90 to 100 miles per hour. Here in the greater Philadelphia area, top winds gusting at 75 miles per hour. Local flooding, basements, yards, power outages possibly down. This is an extremely destructive type of storm. When it hits land in about an hour or so around Cape Hatteras, then it'll decide exactly what it's going to do. Keep in mind, it is an unpredictable storm. Right now, the projections from AccuWeather as the rain continues to come down even harder are not very good at all. It has the capability of being a killer storm. We're right on top of the situation. We'll continue to update it from minute to minute. Stay with us here on AccuWeather. Back inside of you, Jim.
Thank you, Dave. And we are now getting word of mandatory evacuations from the state of New Jersey and Delaware. These are just coming into Action News since we've been on the newscast. A mandatory evacuation order for the barrier islands of Cape May County has now been issued as Hurricane Gloria approaches with her furious force. County Freehold Director Gerald Thornton, in conjunction with county emergency management officials, issued this order not long ago. Police are now ordering the 45,000 residents in the oceanfront towns of Ocean City, Sea Isle City, Stone Harbor, Avalon, and the 3 Wildwood communities to move inland to shelters that are now being set up in the middle of the island. Earlier this evening, Ocean County officials ordered the evacuation of 8,000 residents, but the key issue here, Cape May County has ordered the evacuation. This is not a voluntary situation. This is mandatory now, of 45,000 people in the towns of Ocean City, Sea Isle City, Stone Harbor, Avalon, and the Wildwoods. And now this in also from the state of Delaware. Governor Michael Castle has declared a state of emergency. A spokesman for the governor's office tells Action News that all schools in Delaware will be closed tomorrow. All state employees are being asked to stay home tomorrow with the exception of emergency personnel. And the governor has asked private industry to close down tomorrow as well. All right, we now have the opportunity to talk with someone who knows all about hurricanes. The National Hurricane Center in Miami has been keeping an eye on Gloria ever since she came to life off the African coast several days ago. Joining us live via satellite from his headquarters in Miami is the chief meteorologist of the Hurricane Center, Dr. Neil Frank. Dr. Frank, we understand that the hurricane is still 70 miles off of Cape Hatteras. We also understand that power is already out in Cape Hatteras, even though the hurricane is still some distance away. Can you in some way put into words how strong this storm could be to do that?
Well, they're getting wind gusts to 65, 75 miles an hour in Hatteras already, and the storm center is still well south of them. We've been following the center of the storm, the eye of the storm, on radar all evening with their radar, and the radar at Wilmington been moving northward about 20 miles an hour, and it looks like it's going to cross the Outer Banks in the pre-dawn hours.
Dr. Frank, if I can interrupt, if this hurricane should hit the Philadelphia area proper, what kind of damage could it do within the city itself?
Well, we're not going to talk about the hurricane probably moving over the city of Philadelphia with the strength that it's got right now, but we are concerned about the coastal areas down at Ocean City and along the Jersey coast.
So you're making the point that even if the hurricane comes within the Philadelphia area, it shouldn't do that much damage?
No, it's not going to do that kind of damage back inland. Now, you know, we talked about 3 possible tracks. One was an inland route, and then it would weaken and just spread gales on into New England. The other options would be that the storm would stay along the coast and maintain its strength. It looks like the hurricane is deciding on that option, which increases the risk of hurricane conditions all along the coast up into New England.
All right, thank you very much. Dr. Neil Frank from the Hurricane Center in Miami via satellite coming into Action News tonight. Now, as we have been telling you, the situation in Delaware is what it is. We have had some ordered evacuations along the coastal areas in Sussex County. Governor Mike Castle has just declared a state of emergency for the entire state, and Action News reporter Hank Spurka has been staked out in the state's most popular resort area all day. That would be Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. Hank, what is the latest from there?
Jim, the situation at Rehoboth Beach at this hour is light rains and one of calm, perhaps the oft-quoted calm before the storm when Gloria is expected to unleash all of her hurricane fury in the morning. But earlier today, as a safety precaution against gale force winds, retail merchants began boarding up their establishments with 4-by-8-foot plywood paneling to protect their property and merchandise. And to avoid flying missiles, workmen removed benches from Rehoboth Beach's boardwalk. Mayor John Hughes requested all residents in the Ocean Block to be prepared to evacuate their residences, and many residents in low-lying areas prone to flooding were also told to seek higher ground and safer quarters. Now, while the surf is beginning to kick up at this hour, there's no flooding at the present time. The word around here is to prepare for the worst, but hope for the best, that the coastal area will be spared. This is Hank Spurka, Action News, reporting live from Rehoboth Beach, Delaware.
While it is becoming apparent now that shore communities will bear the brunt of Gloria's fury, residents throughout the Delaware Valley should brace for at least severe weather. The Action Cam is now live along Admiral Wilson Boulevard in Camden, New Jersey. Now difficult to negotiate in cars because Flooding, as you can see, is becoming worse with each passing hour. The situation will get worse as the rains intensify in the hours to come. In fact, we could get 5 to 8 inches of rain or more by the time Gloria blows itself out of our area. Inland, not at the shore, but inland, here's what to expect. Torrential rains causing low-lying areas to flood. High winds, perhaps as much as 50 miles an hour, with gusts up to 75 miles an hour. Not as strong as what the shore will get, as Dr. Frank just told us, but still high enough to cause some damage. There is even a chance that tornadoes could spin off Gloria's leading edge as she moves across the region. Tonight along South Street in Philadelphia, merchants could be seen taping up their storefront windows. The tape can help add strength to the glass and cut down on any shattering effects should the windows give way. The Center City car dealer wasn't taking any chances, choosing to board up its huge showroom windows for added insurance tonight. And late this afternoon, Philadelphia Managing Director James White announced the city is ready to respond in case of emergency. The Red Cross will be in charge of needed sheltering, we should tell you. Additional rescue squads have been activated with all available fire equipment ready for service. Trash will not be collected, so don't set out your cans. They could get blown away. City residents with problems to report can call the City Hall switchboard for assistance. That number, 686-1776. Let me say it again, 686-1776. Some other tips to remember. Secure any outdoor objects that might be blown away by high winds. And check your battery-powered equipment, flashlights, radios, and portable TVs, things like that, should the power go out. And if at all possible, stay indoors. Travel can be extremely dangerous during the peak of the hurricane. A storm as big as Gloria means big problems for utilities as power lines fall victim to high winds and tumbling trees. Reporter Elliot Rodriguez is now live on the action cam at PE headquarters in Center City, Philadelphia. Elliot, how is PE preparing for the onslaught?
Well, Jim, right now I'm inside the Storm Control Center at PE headquarters on Market Street. And as you can see behind me, this giant room is empty right now, but PE officials tell me that by tomorrow morning you can expect a flurry of activity here. The room is going to be the nerve center for whatever problems arise as a result of the storm. And to tell us about the preparations the company is making, I have with me live on the action cam PE spokesman Neil McDermott. Neil, is the company getting ready?
Elliot, we've been at it for a couple days already, and certainly history tells us that a storm like this can really inflict severe damage on us. We've been stocking our storerooms with material. We've been getting all of our heavy vehicles, the trucks, and other heavy equipment ready, so it's there for our line crews when they come to work tomorrow morning to get out and restore the power when it's needed.
What if we do have blackouts? What should customers do?
Well, customers basically should call the company immediately and be in a position, if they can be, to tell us as much of the conditions in their particular area as they possibly can. If there's wires down, trees on wires, if they think it's just their home or their entire neighborhood. And anything else like their customer account number could be very, very important to us. It helps us put information into the computer. We can do a better job of analyzing the problem areas and get crews out to the problem areas quicker.
Okay, thank you very much, Neil McDermott. So that's the situation right now. Like everyone else, PE and the other utility companies in this area are watching Hurricane Gloria very closely. This is Elliot Rodriguez reporting live on the action cam in Center City.
All right, many school officials along the Jersey Shore have already made the decision to close classes tomorrow, cancel classes tomorrow. Philadelphia public school officials say they will make a decision during the early morning hours as to whether classes will be held or not. We will pass along any closings to you as the information becomes available. Remember, Action News will be on throughout the night to bring you these kinds of updates. SEPTA is making plans to deal with the morning commuter rush hour in the midst of the Gloria situation. Here is Action News reporter Jeff Barnes.
SEPTA officials are planning to make changes depending on what Gloria does overnight, but contingency plans are already in the works. If Gloria arrives, she could cause serious damage to overhead power lines and electrical components. For that reason, SEPTA may have to substitute buses for trolleys. If the worst scenario does occur, SEPTA officials tell me there will also be changes in subway service. Hurricane Gloria could cause flooding in low-lying areas and affect subways as well as city and suburban transit routes. SEPTA says service may be suspended on regional rail routes to protect overhead wires and electrical connectors on rail cars. They're also beefing up their staff to monitor conditions so service changes can be made when needed. This will lessen the chances of passengers being stranded under severe weather conditions. If you plan on using SEPTA to get to work tomorrow, you can call 574-7800 for more information as the storm develops. Jeff Barnes, Channel 6 Action News in Center City.
Also on the transportation front tonight, the situation at Philadelphia International Airport. Workers spent all day tying down everything that wasn't already nailed down. Airport officials met to review hurricane safety procedures and said the facility will remain open. But the final decision to land or take off rests with the individual pilots. If you're meeting an arriving flight or departing, obviously it's a good idea to call first before you go. Precautions are also being taken for the four-legged residents of the Delaware Valley. Keepers at the Philadelphia Zoo have brought many of the animals there inside to wait out the storm. Area SPCAs are also recommending pet owners to bring dogs, cats, horses, and the like in as well to ensure their safety. In just about 45 minutes at midnight, make that about 40 minutes, the eye of the storm, the eye of Hurricane Gloria, is expected to make landfall at Cape Lookout, North Carolina. That is northeast of Wilmington, near Morehead City. And so this afternoon, people began boarding up their seaside houses, packing up their valuables, and moving to safer ground. The scene was much the same further up the coast in Norfolk, Virginia. People here prepared for their first major hurricane in 25 years.
Pay the price when you live at the beach. You gotta, you know that when you're buying beach property.
You know, you can always rebuild the house, but you take the things that are precious to you and go on and pray that it doesn't do any massive devastation.
The Navy has moved 40 vessels from their home port in Norfolk to ride out Gloria in safer seas. One vessel, the aircraft carrier Eisenhower, will remain in Norfolk, but tugboats guided her to a more secure position until the storm passes. That is our hurricane story as it now stands, but we should emphasize something that we just learned live from our interview with Dr. Neil Frank, the head of the Hurricane Center in Miami. He said that the path that Gloria is taking will make things even worse than previously expected along the coastal areas of the Jersey and Delaware shores, but perhaps not quite as bad throughout the center of the Delaware Valley and specifically Philadelphia. For some people who live in Philadelphia, that may be good news, but obviously for those who are living along the coastal areas and low-lying areas, that news is not good. Obviously, we will have an update later in this program. If there is any more information available, we will go back live to Atlantic City for an update there. And remember, Action News will be on the air as the night progresses all night long with any update and regular reports as to the status of Hurricane Gloria. She is on her way. Her impact still to be seen, but obviously it will not be a pleasant day tomorrow. Still to come on Action News tonight, a roller coaster day in the Philadelphia newspaper negotiations, and the Phils try to break a 6-game losing streak. They played the Cards tonight in St. Louis. Don Tollefson has that story. Dave Roberts with more on Gloria, the storm itself, when Action News continues. Hurricane Gloria from Dave Roberts and AccuWeather. David?
All right, we are expecting torrential rains and raging winds out of this system. Let's again emphasize the fact this is an extremely dangerous storm. It probably can anticipate nothing more dangerous than what we're talking about. Again, keep in mind, it is on a projected path. At this hour, all indications are that it's going to seriously affect the coastal areas of Delaware and New Jersey and then move on into the Philadelphia area or come extremely close. Go live to the action cam on City Line Avenue first of all, and you'll see the torrent of rain. At least we have hopes that you'll see the torrent of rain as it comes down harder and harder and harder on City Line. Many areas have already picked up an inch of rain. AccuWeather is now telling us we could get anywhere, they've just changed this projection, anywhere from 5 to 8 inches of rain out of this system. All right, let's go to color radar. We've been tracking satellites all night. We've been tracking radar. This is the latest radar picture. Will indicate the location of the storm as it lunges toward Cape Hatteras, South Carolina. Probably going to hit that area within an hour or two, says AccuWeather. The storm still over water, still gaining in strength. At this hour, we clock winds at 130 miles per hour. Let's go to the map and talk about a situation in Cape Hatteras, North Carolina tonight. Some tornadoes, 2 tornadoes. The city of Hatteras is without power. There is no power whatsoever. This happened within the past hour. A couple of tornadoes have already touched down, so they are in serious conditions there. The storm, the center of the storm, is still some 70 miles away from Hatteras. Gives you an indication of the strength, the devastation associated with this storm. At 11:30 tonight, actually we can pinpoint it about 70 miles south of Cape Hatteras. Top winds 130 miles per hour, traveling to the north about 22 miles per hour. Earlier we showed you that path. This storm, once it hits the coast, within the next hour or two, will then make up its mind what it is going to do. Now, one of the other projections from AccuWeather is this. When it does hit the coast, it then comes up the coast with half over the coastline and half over water. If that is the case, we're dealing with a lot of ifs here, but if that is the case, this would accentuate the storm and make it even worse, because that half that's over water is going to continue to gain strength as the other half just kind of raises havoc as it comes up the coast. Again, these are projections, but the projection at this hour is a dangerous one. Please, let's keep that in mind. So, for this hour, we will say deadly. That is the possibility of this storm. I've heard many people on reports saying, well, we've weathered other storms, we're going to ride this one out. If you have the choice, do not ride this storm out. It is too serious of a storm to be concerned. When you have to concern about just staying there and riding out, don't do that. 57 was the low, 72 was the high, in case you're interested in that. Look at this for tomorrow. Water temperature, all right, it's 70. The winds, variable. I don't think I've ever posted numbers like this. 30 to 75 miles per hour. That's in the city. Down at the shore, we're talking about coastal winds anywhere from 90 to 100 miles per hour. Tides anywhere from 4 to 6 feet above normal along the shore areas. All right, check the numbers. In the northeast, 67 degrees at the present time, 70 outside the station. The airport, 68, Camden, 70. Humidity close to the saturation mark, 98%. The barometer, 29, 84. It is falling. Heavy rain has now moved into the Delaware Valley. Again, the projection from AccuWeather is 5 to 8 inches of rain before this ends. Sometime tomorrow it should start to taper off about 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, with winds subsiding and the rain kind of letting up. Overnight low 64, 67. Stormy, hurricane arrives come tomorrow. There's the heavy rain that we talked about, 68 in the morning, 72. Power outages, all kinds of things can come out. Destructive things can come out of this storm. Sunshine on Saturday and Sunday. Now look at this. 72, 78. Once the storm gets by, there's high pressure behind it and a cool front, kind of clear everything out. So it'll be a quick change when it does come, but before it comes, that's our concern. So the weekend is looking good if we can just get through tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon. Then we head into a very decent weekend, clouds and sun as we get through, 80, 78 with temperatures moderating just a little bit. As Jim said, of course, we're going to stay on and monitor this situation right through the entire evening.
I have to ask you a question. We spent the last 45 minutes warning our viewers about the inevitability of Gloria. Is there anything that could happen to change the course of this storm dramatically so that we wouldn't get nearly the kind of impact that we are all expecting?
All right, what Dr. Frank said earlier, there's kind of a corridor, Jim, off to the west of us, maybe 50 to 100 miles, and off to the east, right off the water. There's a corridor there. If the storm varies off to the left, to the west, we could lessen the effects of what we're talking about, but not that much. This is still an extremely dangerous storm. We're not looking for this storm at this hour to go off into the ocean and not affect us at all.
No chance.
Not looking for that at all at this hour. Unpredictable lady.
Okay. New Jersey, Governor Tom Kean has now declared a state of emergency for the coastal communities. This does not mean that the governor has ordered a mandatory evacuation of the barrier island counties. What it does mean is that the governor has given full authority to state police to make selective evacuations where they feel it is necessary. In other words, Colonel Clinton Pagano now has authority, and strong authority, as far as the entire evacuation story is concerned and the entire hurricane story as it applies to the coastal communities in New Jersey. Again, Governor Tom Kean has just issued a state of emergency for the coastal communities in New Jersey. That does not mean a mandatory evacuation of the entire area. What it does mean is that the state police in New Jersey now have power to do what they want to do to ensure the safety and the well-being of everyone in that area. Action News reporter Harry Martin has been in Atlantic City since yesterday, and he will be there as Gloria moves in as well. Harry, any final thoughts tonight before the storm hits for real in the morning?
Well, you know, earlier tonight there was some nervous kidding around about Gloria, and then we started really seeing some tangible results. The wind started picking up, the rain started picking up, and then suddenly the casinos decided that they would close down at midnight tonight. Some of them didn't even wait that long to close down because a lot of people decided that they would leave well before midnight and they were going to head home. So suddenly the nervous kidding became real anxiety around here in Atlantic City. The fact that the casinos decided to close down got a lot of people out of Atlantic City, which if this hurricane hits with all the force that we have been talking about, will certainly make it a lot better situation, a more controllable situation here. I went to a convenience store earlier tonight and some people were stocking up on some foods, and it seemed as though they didn't quite even know what to pick up on in terms of what foods to buy, and they were just kind of in a quandary about how serious this hurricane would actually be. We are still waiting and we are still hoping for the best, certainly down here in Atlantic City, but I think people are now taking Gloria very, very seriously, and it's something that that we're going to have to watch and wait and just see how serious this storm is going to be. This is Harry Martin reporting live on the Action Cam from Atlantic City.
And before we leave you for now, let us recap briefly where we stand at the moment in terms of the facts and figures. There seems to be little question now, save for some dramatic and totally unexpected change in course. And Dave Robertson and AccuWeather say that is virtually impossible. Gloria will slam into the tri-state area in the early morning hours. That includes not only the Jersey and Delaware shores, but the rest of the Delaware Valley as well. Although in an earlier interview during this broadcast with Dr. Neil Frank of the Hurricane Center in Miami, he said that Philadelphia may not get quite the impact of the storm as it might have, as originally thought several hours ago, but on the other side of that coin, the coastal areas might get more than they bargained for. Evacuations have been recommended for coastal communities in New Jersey and Delaware. As we just told you, Governor Kane has declared a state of emergency, giving extra authority to state police. You should be aware that Action News will continue to provide reports on the storm throughout the night. We are not through for this evening by any means. We will be here every hour on the hour at the very least to update you on the progress of the storm. And I will be back at 6 o'clock in the morning for a comprehensive coverage of the critical early hours of the hurricane. That is the story that will in some way affect virtually everyone in the tri-state area. And especially in light of the newspaper strike, be comforted in the fact at least that you can count on Action News for complete hurricane coverage. Nightline is next on Channel 6. We will follow that program with an update on Hurricane Gloria. Now for Don Tollefson, Dave Roberts, the entire Action News team, I'm Jim Gardner. Good night, and let's be careful out there.